I'm an omega with a rare pheromone disorder. I can't be marked by an alpha, and I can't have children. When my symptoms flared up, my coworker, Jake, was the only one willing to soothe me by giving me his pheromones. Then his billionaire father found him. They saw me as dead weight and refused to let me into the family. But he stood up to them and kept me by his side. I thought I could always rely on him to manage my condition. Until a beautiful, gentle omega showed up as his fiancée. After his first taste of a temporary mark, Jake had a change of heart. So this is what it feels like to mark someone. Leo, do you get it? The feeling of having my pheromones locked inside his body? That sense of possession, like he belongs only to me. Of course I didn't get it. All I wanted was to stay alive. So when my symptoms hit and he got tired of dealing with me, I came to a lounge. Like a walking piece of cake begging to be devoured by a pack of wolves. An alpha, give me some pheromones. Anyone. Then I crashed right into the arms of Jake's notoriously spoiled and difficult younger uncle. The overwhelming scent of an Enigma instantly locked into my gland. There. It's all yours. Hot. My entire body was burning up. My gland, it felt like it was about to explode. I stumbled along the wall and instinctively pushed open the door to the lounge. This place wasn't like a messy bar. It was almost exclusively for alphas from high society. High-ranking with strong self-control. They probably wouldn't kill me. Sir, I'm sorry, but we don't allow omegas in heat to enter. A server stopped me at the door. An intense whiskey scent was pouring out of my gland. It wafted under the nose of every alpha in the room. Their eyes locked onto me. One alpha's pheromones couldn't help but mingle with mine. But their rational minds kept them from making any rash moves. An alpha, give me some pheromones. Anyone. I practically hissed the words through gritted teeth. Shame made my face flush, but the piercing pain in my gland told me one thing. I needed pheromones. I needed to live. But a long silence followed. No one dared to move. I leaned against the doorframe, and the server kindly steadied me. Sir, there's a hotel upstairs. I can go buy you suppressants. You don't have to do this. I shook my head slightly. It's no use. I'm immune to suppressants. Still, no one came forward. I turned to leave, planning to try somewhere else. But then an alpha spoke up, his voice dripping with mockery. Isn't that Jake's little omega? How'd he end up in a state like this? Yeah, he's been with Jake for years. Can't Jake handle him? Why is his omega running around in heat? I clenched my fists and lowered my head. Jake, I hadn't seen him in a long time. He used to give me his pheromones every few days. Even though I couldn't be marked, I could live a normal life. But ever since that beautiful omega girl appeared as his fiancée, it was love at first sight for him. I still remembered him bragging after giving me his pheromones not long ago. Do you have any idea what being marked feels like, Leo? It's amazing. It's just a shame you can't be marked or have kids. In the end, we can't be together. At the time, my mouth just hung open. The words caught in my throat. After that, he came back less and less. When my symptoms got so bad I couldn't stand it and went to beg him for help, I found him drunk in a private room. He pointed at me and slurred. How long has it been and you're already in heat again? Anyone would think you're my pet dog. The room erupted in laughter. I quietly left. I curled up in my room, suffering for 3 agonizing days. But there was no sign of improvement. The pain made me realize something. I just needed pheromones. Whose they were didn't matter at all. I opened the door, focused only on getting to the next place, and didn't see someone coming in. I couldn't stop in time and slammed right into a man's chest. He smelled of the cold winter air. I stumbled back, rubbing my reddened nose. Sorry. You okay, man? My fault, I wasn't looking. You're not hurt, are you? The man bent over slightly, reaching out to pat my head. Once he was sure I was okay, he relaxed. As long as you're not hurt. Last time I bumped into someone, they went flying. The sidewalks are all icy in the winter. It was a nasty fall. You look so small and thin. I didn't expect you to be so. Hey, wait a minute. Why are you out here during your heat? It's dangerous. You want me to help you get out of here? He started rambling on and on about nothing. But my head was spinning and my vision was blurry. I couldn't make out what he was saying. I only caught a few words. Heat, dangerous, help you. Like I was grabbing a lifeline, I seized his wrist. I buried my face in his chest, sniffing desperately. I stood on my toes, trying to get closer to his gland. It hurts. Help me. Whoa, hey. Buddy, this isn't cool. Let go of me. Let me go. Your voice? I think I've heard it before. Are you Leo? Little Leo, it's me, Jake's uncle, Ethan. Don't you remember me? You're his Omega. What is this? I can't steal from my own nephew. I couldn't hear him clearly, but I'd never met an alpha who talked this much. So I tilted my head and shut him up with my lips. They were a bit cold, but it helped soothe the itch. The lounge grew noisy as I clung to him. He couldn't shake me off and I greedily bit at his gland. That's weird. Why weren't there any pheromones? Mine were flooding the air, drowning him. Was he not reacting at all? Whatever. Maybe I wasn't biting hard enough. I finally found someone willing. I couldn't miss this chance. So I bit down a little harder. Don't bite. Stop biting. There are people here. I've never been bitten by an Omega in my life. And in front of all these people. What are you jerks staring at? Go get a room and some suppressants now. My canine tooth pierced his gland, and a wisp of fruity fragrance filled my senses. Huh? Strawberry. An alpha with a strawberry scent? But when it crashed into my whiskey scent, a fresh aroma filled the air. It was actually a nice combination. Holy shit, you actually broke the skin. Everybody get out. Don't you dare sniff. And don't follow me. The door slammed shut. He threw me onto the bed. My head was spinning, but my mouth was filled with a sweet taste. It wasn't enough. I crawled toward him, ready to try again. But he was prepared this time and caught me. Why did Jake let you out alone during your heat? Are you trying to get yourself killed? We're not together anymore. He tilted his head, looking at me in disbelief. I was in so much pain my teeth ached. I grabbed his hand, begging him to give me some of his pheromones. No, suppressants are on the way. I'm calling Jake to come get you. I'm immune to suppressants. It's useless. As for Jake, he's probably having a great time right now. Ethan, half convinced, dialed Jake's number. Jake's impatient voice came through the phone. What do you want? I'm busy. Don't bother me. But I could clearly hear an Omega moaning in the background. There was no way Ethan missed it. Fuck you, Jake. You dare talk to me like that? You just wait. He hung up, his face flushed and a little awkward. It's okay, Leo. Uncle will teach him a lesson for you later. He's got you and he still dares to go find some stray Omega? He must have a death wish. I nodded. You didn't know? That's his fiancée. I had no idea. I just got back in the country. He agreed to that even though he has you? What a scumbag. I didn't say anything. The small amount of pheromones I'd gotten was already fading away. What's taking so long with those suppressants? My buddy probably got lost. Just hang on a little longer. But I couldn't wait. He was sitting with his back to me. The bite marks I'd left were still visible on his gland. But he was exercising extreme self-control. No matter how I tried to entice him with my pheromones, he sat perfectly still, refusing to release even a hint of his own. He could even chat with me. He babbled on about everything under the sun. While he was distracted, I wrapped my arms around his waist and pressed myself against his gland again. Help me, please. I'm going to die and I don't want to die yet. My tears dripped onto his shoulder. He stiffened, sitting ramrod straight and swallowing hard several times. Are you really not with Jake anymore? I shook my head frantically, making it clear I was done with Jake. Okay then, I'll help you this one time, but my pheromones are a lot stronger than an alpha's. If you can't handle it, you have to tell me. Just as I finally convinced him to bite my gland, an ill-timed knock came from the door. My buddy's back with the suppressants. You're saved, Leo. He started to get up, but I hooked my arm around his neck. Tell him to go away. The suppressants really won't work. He sighed and gave in, shouting at the door. Go on. Get out of here. We don't need it. I thought he was bluffing when he said his pheromones were stronger than an alpha's. After all, how aggressive could a strawberry scent be? But the moment he started injecting it into my gland, I almost couldn't take it. With just a single gentle puff, he gave me more pheromones than Jake had in 3 sessions combined. How could an alpha have pheromones this powerful? You have to tell me if it hurts. It's my first time. I don't have any experience. A thin sheen of sweat broke out on my forehead, but I kept shaking my head. It doesn't hurt. More. After all, I couldn't guarantee I'd run into another nice person next time. Strawberry. Such a rich, sweet strawberry scent. My whiskey scent was completely overwhelmed. A long time passed. So long that my breathing became ragged. Only then did he stop. There. You have a temporary mark now. Next time you're in heat, don't go running around in the streets. He blushed slightly, scratching his head in embarrassment. If you're feeling bad again next time, you can find me. My mouth fell open as I touched my swollen gland. I was stunned by the feeling of the pheromones locked inside. Marked? I was marked. Don't I have pheromone disorder? Aren't I supposed to be unmarkable? Jake had tried countless times. Once, he'd nearly drained himself of all his pheromones overnight trying to mark me, and still failed. And this guy marked me so easily. Maybe it was because I hadn't felt this satisfied in a long time, but I passed out. When I opened my eyes again, all I could hear was the sound of the shower running in the bathroom. The air was still thick with the rich scent of strawberries. I looked at the tidy room and my untouched clothes. Ethan really was a gentleman. A temporary mark should last me a long time. But he was Jake's uncle after all. Now that I was clear-headed, it was best to avoid the Keller family whenever possible. So I took the only 20 I had out of my pocket and left it on the bed. Then I got up and left. I hailed a cab downstairs. I got out at the entrance to my apartment complex. The complex was in a remote area, and the buildings were old. But it was surrounded by factories, so a lot of workers lived here. One of the apartments was the one Jake and I first rented. It held almost all of our history together. My mother had me when she was very young. She loved to party and saw me as a burden. So when she found out about my condition, she dumped me in a rundown part of the old city. Son, I don't have money for your treatment. These are all alphas. Just act a little slutty, and they'll make you feel better. You're not a kid anymore. It's time you got a job. I was 16 at the time, and I knew she was abandoning me. But I was willing to leave her. If I stayed with her, I'd starve to death sooner or later. It was better to go out and make my own way. A young Omega walking through a chaotic factory district. The foreman threw me into a large dorm room with a dozen other guys. He had a cigarette hanging from his lips, and his rough hand rested on my gland as he told me in a low voice, "Leo, right? You'll be living here from now on. The guys here are all good people, so don't be scared." But then he turned around and yelled at a subordinate who questioned the legality of making an Omega share a room with alphas. "The law? Around here, I am the law. This dorm is full of hot-blooded young guys with nowhere to blow off steam. How am I supposed to control them otherwise?" I kept my head down and quietly climbed onto the empty bunk in the corner. The foreman had told me I'd get a salary of $2,000 a month for doing the easiest work. Room and board were included, so I could save all that money. If I worked for 10 years, I'd have enough to live a little more comfortably, right? And they were all alphas. When my symptoms acted up, they'd surely be willing to help me. The door was shut, and the single light bulb on the ceiling was blinding. I could hear alphas swallowing, someone tentatively tugging at my clothes. I knew they were asking for my consent. Just don't kill me. My eyes were wooden as I stared at the light bulb. Someone turned off the light. A rustling sound approached me. A hand grabbed my ankle. I closed my eyes, trying my best not to tremble. Suddenly, the light flicked back on. The person closest to me was sent flying with a kick. The light was too bright, I couldn't see the face of my rescuer. But he pulled me up and shielded me behind him. "Are you all tired of living? That fat pig might be an idiot, but you should know better. If you want to go to jail, be my guest." I shook my head, pulling myself back to the present. The key was already in the lock. Back then, Jake had worked his way up to being a junior foreman. This was his place, and for a long time he let me live here alone. He stayed in the dorms. It was only after I got sick and missed a few days of work that he came to check on me and found out. I begged him for his pheromones. He agreed. Later, as our feelings grew, he moved back in, and we lived together for nearly 3 years. Until he was found by the Keller family. The first thing he did after taking me to meet them was to buy this apartment. I didn't think it was necessary, but he said, "This place holds all our memories. I could never bear to lose it." I nodded and smiled. We would come back to visit every so often. But these past few months, he'd been too busy with his fiancée. He had long forgotten our promise. I opened the door, and the scent of caramel and wood smoke mixed with another pheromone hit me. I stared blankly at the mess in the living room. I carefully stepped around the scattered clothes and went inside. The flower stand on the balcony was knocked askew. Broken pots were scattered across the floor. The ceramic doll from the TV stand had fallen. I carefully picked it up. It wasn't shattered, but it was covered in cracks. Jake and I had made this doll with our own hands after work one day. He said it looked like me, I said it looked like him. Later, he said, "Let's just say it's the child we can never have." I held it quietly in my hand and stood at the bedroom door. The pheromones were even stronger in here. I didn't have to guess. It was Jake and his little fiancée. I just never thought they would come here. Taking a deep breath, I knocked on the door and said calmly, "I'm just here to grab a few things. I'll be quick." The door opened, and a sleepy-eyed Jake looked at me. "What are you doing here? You couldn't last 2 days? Just go back to the mansion for now. I'll come over later, okay?" I lowered my eyes, my gaze sweeping over the bed. His little fiancée was still sound asleep. She probably wouldn't be waking up anytime soon. "I'll go then. I'll come back in a couple of days." I turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist, gently closed the door, and pulled me over to the sofa. "Wait, are you better? Didn't you say your condition could only be soothed by an alpha's pheromones? Can it heal on its own?" I didn't speak, just nodded. He scoffed, crossing his legs and pointing his chin at me. "So you were just messing with me before? If you can heal on your own, why were you always clinging to me?" I pressed my lips together, looking at this stranger who was once so familiar. Money and power really can change a person. He'd forgotten. He'd forgotten how his eyes would tear up with sympathy when he saw me in pain. He would hold me and tell me to bite him if it hurt. That's why there was always a faint bite mark on his arm. But now that spot was covered by his fiancée's name. I lowered my voice and told him, "Jake, I want to leave." He waved his hand dismissively, his face impatient. All right, just go back to the mansion. Tina will be upset if she wakes up and sees you." "No, I want to leave you." "You want to leave? You're a sick little Omega. How are you going to survive out there?" I looked at the contempt in his eyes and spoke slowly. "You don't have to worry about that. I'll be fine." In the last few years, the laws had improved, and social conditions for Omegas were much better. The frequency of my episodes had also decreased. If I worked hard, I could find a job. Besides, I had some savings in my account, enough to get by until I found one. He tilted his head and stared at me. He could see I had made up my mind. But as he fiddled with the wedding ring on his finger, he didn't seem to want to let me go. Just as the tension mounted, the bedroom door opened. Tina, wearing one of Jake's shirts, yawned and sat on his lap. "Someone's here and you didn't even wake me up." Honestly, Jake pulled her shirt down to cover the hickeys and gently rubbed her swollen gland. "Go back to sleep. It's nothing." But she glared at him and snapped, "So I can leave you two alone?" I looked up and told Jake again that I wanted to leave. After weighing his options, he looked at Tina and said gently, "Fine. I'm marrying Tina after all. What would it look like if I kept you around?" With his approval, I got up and placed the ceramic doll on the coffee table. Tina picked it up and played with it curiously. This little doll is so unique. But in the next second, it shattered in her hand. "What is this thing?" It broke the second I touched it. It almost cut my hand. She angrily threw the shards, and they smashed into even smaller pieces. Jake fussed over her hand, rubbing it tenderly. He didn't even glance at me as I ran out the door. I rented a small studio apartment not far from the lounge. I'd seen a help wanted sign there yesterday. The pay was good, and I heard the owner was nice and flexible with time off. The interview went smoothly. I was assigned to the bar to mix drinks. Full benefits, $6,000 a month. It was more than I expected. The person training me was the same Omega who had helped me yesterday. His name was Ryan, and he warmly handed me a uniform. He didn't mention what happened yesterday at all. Mixing drinks is easy. Just follow my lead. The people who come here are all rich kids from the scene, just here to have fun. I nodded and started following his instructions. After learning a few simple recipes, night fell. People started trickling in. I copied Ryan's professional smile and asked customers what they needed. But even when the place was nearly full, not a single person asked me to make them a drink. I cautiously asked Ryan, "Am I doing something wrong?" He frowned and looked at my gland. "Honey, I'm really curious, but it's your business, so I didn't want to ask. A lot of people saw you with Ethan yesterday, and alphas can smell when an omega has been marked." I sniffed myself. I had 3 patches over my gland, and there was only a faint scent of strawberries. They could smell it through that? Then why didn't Jake smell it when I saw him yesterday? Even if they can, they shouldn't be avoiding me like this. The alphas here are all high-ranking. Or was Ethan some kind of plague? To my surprise, Ryan just said, "TSK," and crossed his arms. "Babe, he's an enigma. How many E's are there in this city? You can count them on one hand. I heard that most omegas can't handle their mark. You were marked by him, so how are you still struggling this much? What a scumbag." I frowned, wiping down the counter. Last night, his pheromones had definitely gone deeper. It felt like they had reached the very core of my gland. Is that why he was able to mark me? As I was lost in thought, a long, slender hand appeared in my line of sight. He tapped the counter with his knuckles. When I looked up, I saw Ethan's half-smiling profile. My heart lurched and I accidentally knocked over a glass. I started wiping up the spill while asking what he needed, but a corner of his mouth lifted, and he grabbed my wrist. Am I the plague or something? Where'd all that courage from yesterday go? I stared at him, my mouth open, but I couldn't get a single word out. He calmly pulled $200 from his pocket. It was the same money I'd left on his bed yesterday. What is this, a business transaction? What's the meaning of giving me money? I swallowed nervously and nodded. You said I could find you again next time. I feel better if it's a fair exchange. You really think that little of me? Huh? 200? I'm cheaper than a gigolo. He shoved the money into my hand, his eyes filled with disdain. I didn't argue with him. He was Jake's uncle. The next time I had an episode, I didn't plan on seeking him out. I quietly put the money away. He just stood at the bar, staring at me. After a long pause, he finally couldn't take it anymore. Seriously, you don't get what I mean? I said nothing. Thinking he felt it was too little money, I pulled out a bank card. There's $5,000 in here. Consider it payment for your help. His face fell instantly, and he let out a frustrated laugh. Leo, you're really something else. With that, he turned and stormed off to a table. His friend next to him looked stressed, telling him to drink some water and calm down before he had a heart attack. I just quietly put my card away. What was his deal? If you have something to say, just say it. How am I supposed to guess what you're thinking? For 3 days straight, Ethan came to the lounge. He never ordered a drink from me. He just stared, as if trying to burn a hole through me with his eyes. I had a feeling he was waiting for me, waiting for my symptoms to flare up, waiting for me to come begging to him. And he was right. The pheromones he'd locked inside me were already dissipating. A temporary mark from an alpha usually lasts 3 days. He was an enigma, so it should last a bit longer. I counted the money I had and fell into thought. I heard that a surgical procedure to treat pheromone disorder had been perfected and released. There were already a few successful cases, but it was expensive and I was still far short of the amount I needed. If I could just hold on for a few more years and save up, maybe I could finally stop living this degrading life. I wiped down the table, glancing at the seat Ethan usually occupied. He wasn't here today. That was probably for the best. If he were here, I might not be able to stop myself from asking him. Ryan was polishing glasses nearby while I chipped away at an ice sphere. He could tell I was uncomfortable and told me to go home. I'll leave as soon as I finish these ice blocks. I kept my head down. The next second, my wrist was grabbed. Jake was frowning, looking at me with confusion, and he had Tina wrapped around his arm. Leaving me means coming to work here? Do you have any idea how much everyone in our circle is laughing at me? And I heard you were marked? You can be marked? He pulled me so hard my body was almost on top of the counter. The ice blocks in front of me were knocked over. My stomach pressed against the ice, and the cold made me flinch. Let go. Are you insane, Jake? Ryan pulled me back, but Jake was determined to check my gland. His eyes were bloodshot, and Tina looked furious standing beside him. I really didn't understand what business it was of his whether I could be marked or not. Then let me try again. I want to see if I can mark you. Jake had lost his mind. He climbed onto the bar to get to me. Ryan held me close to the liquor shelf and swung a bottle of red wine at him. But it was useless. I hugged Ryan and tried to run, but the next second, Jake had me in his arms. Let me try again. I don't believe it. Don't believe what? You can't mark me, and that's final. Trying again won't change anything. He violently tore off my scent patch. The sting made me gasp. Then he started releasing his pheromones, trying to trigger me. In public. What the hell was wrong with him? Why was he being so irrational? His pheromones entered my body. I felt a wave of heat wash over me. A forced heat. He was trying to force me into heat. He'd forgotten that every heat made my condition even more painful. But right now, he was like a wild animal, desperate to prove he was capable. You son of a bitch, Jake. Have you lost your damn mind? Ethan burst through the door and threw a punch straight at Jake's head. Jake grunted and stumbled back into the liquor shelf. Bottles rattled and crashed down on him, shattering everywhere. Red wine mixed with blood trickled down his face. Ethan shielded me, and wisps of strawberry pheromones soothed my screaming gland. But I was still in agony. It's okay. It's okay. I'm taking you out of here. Just hold on. I bit my lip until it bled, grabbing his arm in desperation. It's happening again. Ethan, help me, please help me. Okay, I'll help you. I'm taking you to the hospital. I made an appointment with a top specialist today. He can definitely cure you. I'm sorry I was late. Ethan swept me up into his arms, but Jake grabbed onto his pant leg. Where are you taking him? He's mine. Before he could finish, Ethan kicked him away and told his friend behind him, bring him along too. Glandular defects, infertility, your uncle is a kind man. I made an appointment for you too. But with a condition like that, I guess the only thing that helps is a little Viagra to extend the marking time. Ethan took me to the hospital. My whole body was on fire. I tried with all my might to resist asking him for pheromones. But I knew it was only a matter of time before I couldn't hold back. Ethan, you don't have to do this for me. Shut up. He pressed his index finger to my lips. I want to. Just hang in there a little longer. I'll satisfy you after you see the doctor. I leaned against him, not understanding why he was being so good to me. But I knew I didn't deserve someone this kind. The doctor drew my blood and told me to wait for the results. For 2 hours, he just held me, comforting me. Finally, the report was ready. An old doctor sat down in front of me. I recognized him. He was the world's leading surgical expert on glands. He was also the one who led the research on pheromone disorder. I never expected Ethan to go to such lengths for me. To be able to get an appointment with someone so busy. Mr. Leo, I've looked at your test results, and your case is quite unique. It is indeed easily confused with pheromone disorder. But that's not what you have. Your gland is simply larger and set deeper, which means you require a much larger injection of pheromones to be satisfied. And from the information I received from Mr. Ethan, you previously lived with Mr. Jake. He has a classic case of glandular atrophy, which results in a short marking duration, low pheromone concentration, and poor sperm quality. That's why you haven't been marked all these years. My head was spinning. All I understood was that he was telling me I wasn't sick. Ethan squeezed my hand and asked anxiously, so what do we do? The doctor put down my file, picked up another report, and smiled a little sheepishly. Mr. Ethan and Mr. Leo's pheromone compatibility is nearly 99%. As long as you give him a permanent mark, Mr. Leo will be able to live a normal life from now on.
À permanent marque?
I looked at Ethan, swallowing nervously. An Omega can only be marked by one Enigma for life. From then on, no matter where I went, everyone would know I belonged to Ethan. But would he be willing? A man like him should marry a high-class Omega from a comparable family and produce outstanding heirs. And I could see the information on the report clearly. I was just a C-class Omega. It was just a coincidence that my pheromone compatibility with him was high. None of my other stats were remarkable in the slightest. Ethan turned to look at me, but I lowered my head. The doctor tactfully excused himself. With the last shred of my composure, I told him, "You've already done so much for me. I won't force you." He pressed his lips together, tilting my head up to make me look at him. "Are you willing? Once you're marked, it's for life. If you regret it, removing the mark will be incredibly painful." He sounded so sincere, but the more earnest he was with me, the more I hesitated to move toward him. He saw through my hesitation. He sighed softly and pulled me into his arms. "Then a temporary mark it is, just to ease your pain for now." When I woke up the next day, Ethan was gone. I closed my eyes, feeling the rich pheromones filling my gland. He really had just given me a temporary mark. As I sat up, a pair of strong hands supported my back. "Well, I was starting to think you were gone for good. Is he really that great?" Jake's cold voice cut through the air. I whipped my head around. Only then did I see him dressed in a hospital gown. The needle mark on the back of his hand was still bleeding. He must have run out of his own room. "What do you want?" I instinctively got out of bed on the other side, putting distance between us. He gave a bitter laugh and sat down in a chair. "Do you remember the first time we met? I protected you, and you said you'd follow me for the rest of your life. Of course. After all, what Omega wouldn't fall for their childhood hero? Back then, I truly believed Jake was the alpha for me. Yeah, it was perfect, wasn't it? So why did I have to ruin everything? I regret it so much, Leo. I'm so sorry." His voice choked with emotion, and he stood up. He reached out his hands to me, his eyes full of sincerity. "Can you give me another chance? I was just blinded by money. My feelings for you were so complicated. So complicated that I didn't know how to love you before. But I understand now. Leo, let me love you this time." I watched him silently. Even though the pheromones yesterday had left my ears ringing and my heart racing, I knew what was going on with him. An alpha with glandular atrophy. The dark look on Tina's face yesterday said it all. Jake had been dumped. After all, Tina was a high-ranking Omega herself. She wasn't about to throw away her future for him. I looked at him coldly. "Jake, can't you smell it?" He looked confused. "Smell what?" I calmly walked up to him and did a slow turn. The thick Enigma pheromones all over me. "You can't smell them? Jake, has your gland atrophied that much?" He froze, trying desperately to catch a scent. But his nose couldn't detect a single trace. As if all his strength had left him, he collapsed back into the chair, hunching over. Glandular atrophy meant he could only smell faint traces of Omega pheromones. For anything else, he was no different from a beta. "No, that's not it. As long as I can smell you, that's enough. Isn't it? We can be just like we were before. Your condition needs pheromones, and I can give them to you. We're the perfect match, aren't we?" He moved toward me step by step, but the youthful arrogance in his eyes was gone, replaced by desperation. "Jake, there's no chance for us anymore." I pressed the call button, and a nurse arrived quickly. I watched as they restrained him while he screamed that he wasn't sick. Then he looked at me with despair. "Leo, I was with you for so many years. I comforted you. I took care of you. Now that I'm the one who's sick, how can you be so heartless?" I didn't say a word. I didn't even look at him. Heartless? Maybe. But that's who I've always been. To survive, I could be ruthless enough to give up anything. Ethan came back the next day. I was feeling much better, and the doctor said I could be discharged. So he packed up my things and took me back to my apartment. "I heard there's a really good restaurant near here. I'll take you. Jake didn't hurt you yesterday, did he? I had to take care of some things, so I got back late. He was just as talkative as when we first met. But I didn't know how to respond. We both tacitly avoided the topic of a permanent mark. I knew he was being considerate of me, afraid I wouldn't want to be branded with someone else's mark. If this had been a few years ago, if I had known I wasn't sick and just had a deep gland, I think I would have asked him for it without hesitation. But now, some complicated emotion was holding me back. What's wrong? Why do you look so pale? I was so lost in thought I didn't even notice the car had stopped. Ethan's warm hand touched my forehead. My cheeks flushed, and I instinctively pushed his hand away. It's nothing. It's probably just cold outside. Cold? He mumbled. I have the heat on. How can it be cold? Whatever. Let's get your things inside first, then we'll go eat. I hid half my face in my scarf and nodded. He said things, but it was all daily necessities and supplements that Ethan had bought. He had been prepared for a long-term treatment plan when he took me to the hospital. He just hadn't expected me to be healthy, so most of it was useless now. He helped me upstairs. After putting the stuff down, my already small room felt even more cramped. How about I find you another place? This apartment is too small. He said it so casually, as if we were an old married couple. He immediately pulled out his phone and called his assistant to start looking for an apartment. I bit my lip, standing across from him. My heart was pounding. Leo, if you don't ask for a permanent mark now, how long will it be until you meet another compatible Enigma? And even if you do, will they be as kind as Ethan? It's just a permanent mark. If he wants to find a high-class Omega later, I can just leave. With that thought, I took off my scarf and cautiously approached him. Give it to me. My voice trembled. My fingers fumbled with his collar, trying to unbutton his shirt. I could hear his heartbeat quicken. Ethan caught my hands. Are you sure? A mark is for life. You'll be my Omega forever. What if you regret it? I shook my head, not daring to look at him. How could I regret it? Even if there was regret, it should be his. After all these years of struggling in society, I knew how severe the class discrimination was in the upper circles. Maybe one day, when they found out Ethan had marked a C-class Omega, they would laugh at him, mock him. Would he regret it then? But I've always been selfish. I just want to live comfortably. I won't regret it. Give it to me, Ethan. I hugged him, and his soft lips gently kissed my gland. Okay, it's all yours. The next morning, I was woken up by the ringing of my phone. I touched my swollen gland, feeling the pheromones brimming inside. It was amazing. There was really no sign of them dissipating. Ethan pulled my arm, slowly opening his eyes. What is it? Who's calling? I looked at my phone and saw dozens of missed calls and a flood of texts from Jake. 5 hours ago, Jake said he jumped into the ocean and told me goodbye forever. But he was still calling me 3 minutes ago. Ethan sat up and rummaged through the pile of clothes for his phone. Just then, it started ringing. He answered it. His sister-in-law's sobbing voice came through. Ethan, can you please bring Leo over? Jake can't accept that he's sick. He's begging to see Leo. I'm begging you, just for a moment. Please don't make me bury my own son. Ethan had the phone on speaker, so I heard every word. He took a sharp breath and said with some difficulty, I can't make that decision for him. Let me ask Leo. I looked at Ethan and, after a long moment, nodded. If we didn't go and Jake really died, it would put Ethan in a difficult position. I had just asked him for a permanent mark yesterday. It was better not to cause him any trouble. We quickly got ready and went to the hospital. As soon as we got to the floor, we could hear Jake shouting. He was screaming his lungs out, desperate to die. When he heard that Ethan and I had arrived, he insisted on seeing me alone. I calmly agreed, gesturing to Ethan that it would be fine, and walked into the room. I stood at the door, quietly looking at Jake on the bed. His eyes were bloodshot. When he looked up and saw me, a flicker of light returned to his vacant gaze. What is it? Is there anything left for us to talk about? He picked up a ceramic doll from beside his pillow. It was covered in cracks but had been glued back together. It was the same doll Tina had shattered. Look, I fixed it. It's as good as new, Leo. I let out a slow breath and walked over to take it. I turned it over in my hands, my eyes settling on a small missing piece. It was from the spot Tina had smashed to dust, right where the doll's heart should be. Jake, when the heart is missing, can it ever be the same again? I tossed the doll back onto his bed and turned to leave. He didn't scream or shout. He just stared at the doll. When Jake's parents saw me come out, they rushed into the room. I took Ethan's hand. Let's go. He'll figure it out. After leaving the hospital, Ethan started driving. I thought he was taking me home, but this wasn't the way back. Where are we going? I'm taking you to my place for dinner. You haven't eaten since last night. My parents have been wanting to meet you for a while. Don't worry, they're really nice. I froze, my brain short-circuiting. What did he mean? Taking me to meet his parents? Was he going to marry me? My mouth moved faster than my brain. I instinctively yelled, "Stop the car." He obediently pulled over to the side of the road. What's wrong? Why are you taking me home so suddenly? Isn't this moving a little too fast between us? He tilted his head, looking at me with pure confusion. I realized my mistake. We had a permanent mark. What could be closer than that? Now that you're marked by me, you're my omega. I'm gonna take responsibility for you, so don't worry. So it was just about responsibility. I looked at him and shook my head. You don't have to be with me. I'll move to another city, stay far away from you. That way you can MMPH. He grabbed my wrist and pressed his lips to mine. He was breathing heavily, clearly angry. He bit my lip hard. He didn't let go until the taste of blood filled my mouth. Can what? Can you stop being so difficult? You always have to assume the worst. Your best option is right in front of you. Can you please just look at me? He cupped my face, forcing me to meet his gaze. He kissed me hard again. But, another kiss. I finally shut my mouth. Don't worry, I won't force you. Maybe we can try dating for a while. If you still want to leave after that, I'll personally send you off. I looked at him, blinking. It doesn't sound like you're sending me off. It sounds like you're sending me to my grave. He chuckled and pinched my nose. I could never. After all, it's not every day you find a partner this compatible. Honestly, before you showed up, I thought I was going to be alone for the rest of my life. But I'm so glad fate let me meet you. He held my hand as snowflakes drifted down outside the window. So, Leo, will you try dating me? A layer of mist had formed on the window. I lifted my finger, drew a heart on the glass, and softly breathed a single word. Okay.